Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another episode of Touching Base here on Fearless Games.
But like,
yeah, that would make the job a lot harder.
Going to like the Rashomon thing and how it's designed and how it might not have worked. So like if you haven't watched Rashomon, you should watch it. It's a great movie. But with that, like they tell you a whole story, then you tell you the whole story again, different perspective. And they took that whole idea of flashback and what's the word for a non-trustworthy narrator? I just forgot it.
Unreliable.
Thank you. Unreliable narrator. And they went with that. But one of the flaws, I think, is because, like you said, the episode spacing, how many episodes we have, really affected that because they only did 2 flashbacks technically, and they're both their own episodes. And the reason they did that, if you look at the episodes, there's only 4 directors. Each director did 2 episodes. So both flashbacks are by the same director. So like one person directed all of that. And then like in a perfect world, what would have made the show maybe better is if there's flashbacks in each episode, kind of like, I hate to compare it to a not as good show, CW's The Arrow, but at least in season 1 of that, they did a good job of intermixing the flashbacks with the present to tell a story. And our flashbacks are contained in 2 spots, and it throws it off a little bit.
That's why I said the execution of the Rashomon elements I felt were lacking.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how you fix it though, because they. Yeah, I do too, and I don't know how they could fix it with them also doing it like, well, they did. I think they made the right choice in having one director just do all the flashbacks because they had a specific style that made sense for that.
I think fixing it would have required a full restructuring of the narrative flow and structure of the show. Like, because it would have been interesting to see multiple. It would have been interesting to see multiple perspectives on just the things we were seeing.
Yeah, like because we only got like 2 perspectives, kind of.
Like if the camera was always an unreliable narrator for like say the first half of the season, would have been really engaging. But they didn't do that. They just wanted this one event to be there. We don't have all the information, but then they only showed us the 2 perspectives.
Yep.
And the one perspective was the flawed perspective, and the second perspective was here's all the things you didn't see, rather than actually being 2 unreliable perspectives. I would have preferred to have 3. I think.
Yeah.
You get one from Soul's perspective, one from May's perspective, and then like the one from Soul's perspective or something, and you are able to put together the whole story from the 3.
And
I think that would have been better.
What Rashomon is, minor spoilers, but it's 3 different perspectives, and all of them are true and all of them are different.
And I think that's where I guess they stumbled, is that they didn't give us enough of it.
I think expecting more than just the 2 perspectives. I was thinking, we were going to get, at least, like said, May, like how did May
everybody's.
I think 2 more episodes would have been good. If we got 10 episodes, I think it would have cooked.
But what's interesting
would have been able to do that.
Is because people realized this about the directors, people knew when the next flashback episode was going to happen after the 3rd one. They're like, well, this guy's directing the 7th episode, that'll all be flashbacks. And it's like, it's weird how people are meta analyzing director
all the data
information.
Mining stuff or whatever.
It's fascinating.
That doesn't bother me as much as a 90s kid, because we grew up with television where at the end of every episode you get a next time on Dragon Ball Z. Like, there are so many shows that we watched growing up had these previews at the end of the episode that it's like, okay, get hype. You like so knowing a little bit about what's coming doesn't bother me.
I
do think that's something that has largely been discarded in modern media. So I can see why people might be bothered by that.
And then to the second flashback, I think was trying to do here's what really happened, and here's what Saul sees for all of his flawed logic at the same time, which I mean, it did not that it didn't work. It's just that they didn't really discern enough, because like because obviously he didn't see Korhel tell May to get mad, but we saw that because we need to see what really happened. And I think either if it was a double-length episode, or if they did it, or we got at least 1 extra episode in the season for that, we could have probably gotten a better approach to it.
Yes.
But I think it's a case of ultimately, aside from the fact that if they did that, they wouldn't have been able to flesh out such a deep character as Moog or Mog or whatever. They, oh my god, it's the Avengers level of Jedi. It's like,
I like that you're really stuck on Mog. Mog is great.
because like, where did he come? Like, out of anybody, they could have bring the South, bring the KOTOR alien in or something. Like, why was this random dude who clearly looks like he doesn't belong even as a Jedi? He's so confused.
Is he Venestra's Padawan or just her assistant?
I think he's her secretary.
Yeah.
Like,
I think he's a gopher. He's like, hey, you,
yeah,
go get us some coffee.
I definitely think another problem with the season structurally is the episodes were too short.
Yes.
There wasn't a single episode that I felt was long enough. Like episode 5, I guess, was sufficient because it was just a long fight scene, and you can't do that for an hour. But every other episode is like 28 minutes, 32 minutes. Just give us like 1 or 2 episodes that are a full hour.
Yeah.
And I think that would have solved a lot of problems.
So I think the nice thing that we're seeing here is that basically our main complaint is we all wish we had more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Overall, I think I'm happy with the show.
This
there
is
are things I wanted
experiment.
more of.
Yeah.
Yes,
that was
there are
one
things
thing
that I wanted more of. Is my
telling,
biggest complaint.
That's what I was telling with Elena was I was going, this is, I hate that it's 8 episodes and they're 30 minutes long. If you're going to give me only 8 episodes, I would like them to be an hour long,
Yeah.
That's
Or
like,
40
that was
minutes
my
or
biggest
something.
problem is like, why are you shortchanging us on both the episode count and the runtime?
It was
this is a repeated thing with the Disney Plus shows too, is that you have this premium format, where I'm paying you X amount of money for these shows that can only be seen here, a format that, let's be honest, was kind of pioneered by HBO.
Mm-hmm.
HBO shows have, since time immemorial, been an hour long per episode.
Yeah,
because that's sort of the TV standard. Yes, we're no longer in the TV era; we're in streaming era.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the only thing, like Disney can afford to do hour-long episodes. Let's not lie to ourselves. Disney has not endless money, but a significant amount of money.
But if they do an
money to
hour-long
invest.
episode, they're only going to get 300% return on investment instead of 500% return on investment.
I mean, if you want me to go off about the bad guy being capitalism, I'll go off about the bad guy being capitalism. But ultimately, this is a problem with it's been a problem with the Marvel shows. It's been a problem with the Star Wars shows. They're always giving us episodes, like you'll get like, in some of the shows, you'll get like an hour-long episode once per season, and it'll be the best episode in the season because you finally get a full episode. Like the episode 4 in particular of the Acolyte, it's like 25 minutes before the credits. You finally feel like you're just getting into the episode, and it ends more abruptly than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's just,
and that one is because 4 and 5 were shot together. They're one episode.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
they were
I
one
get
episode, and then
I get that they couldn't really cut it anywhere else.
But at the same time,
still,
if they were one episode, let them be one episode. It's just like...
Right. I mean, how long was episode 5? It wasn't more than a half hour. If you'd let that be an hour-long episode, it would have been perfect.
Yeah,
but then you would have only had 7 episodes, Matt, and people would have been mad. I'm kidding.
Lucky number 7.
But
also
another episode.
I think at the end of the day, though, Acolyte was a successful experiment in the Star Wars franchise because honestly, you have things that are drawn, animated, or whatever, but live action is where like the rubber meets the road for people. Like if it's live action, this is serious, this is real, this is canon more so than anything else. And to do something that really, yes, we saw Ki-Adi-Mundi, yes, we saw Yoda for a split second, yes, we saw Darth Plague, yes, this is part of the Skywalker saga. This was truly a not Skywalker saga live action show, and it showed that it could, and it showed that ultimately, we have a lot of really dumb complaints because this franchise always does, but ultimately, I think it showed that it works. You don't need to be Skywalker-fied to have a decent Star Wars thing.
Yep, and I just think the biggest hurdle for the show was everyone's opinion on the showrunner themselves out of anything.
She did such a good job though. Like she
but
even in like interviews and stuff, like she did present herself in a well way and did show she cared about the material and generally did a good job with it.
And I think it's a problem with the fandom.
Yep.
For the Star Wars fan base, I guess, has a bit of an asshole problem. I'll put it, because I can't think of a better term. Because if you look at this show, there was insane levels of review bombing before the episodes even aired.
Mm-hmm.
If you look on IMDb, I think it's like the top 5 shows are like the top 3 are like all HBO shows, and then the Acolyte, and then right after the Acolyte is Game of Thrones. And you look at their review scores, and you have like 8.9, 9.2, 9.7, 3.4 for the Acolyte, and then Game of Thrones at like 9.8. And it's like the viewership numbers are there. People watched the show.
Yeah.
But you had a bunch of pissed off nerds who can't accept new things, or who don't like the idea of a female showrunner, or don't like the idea of a female protagonist, or don't like the idea of a black protagonist, or don't like the idea of, like, I don't know, a lesbian Jedi. Not that was in this show, but
yeah,
like
lesbian
witches.
that was like a thing.
People who just want to see themselves reflected in everything, as they have since the 1960s. Like people who are mad about things that only make the franchise a little bit broader. And so they go and they fucking review bomb it before the episode even comes out, so they can say, oh, see, nobody likes this show. It's like, I was reading recently, there was a determination that I think it was like 80% of the negative reviews on the Acolyte episodes were AI generated. These motherfuckers can't even take the time to write their own bad reviews. They're going to Chat GPT and being like, please be mad at the Acolyte for me.
See,
and then posting
the dangers of AI, review bomb Star Wars shit. No, but
I had one person who was like, oh, I've read a lot of reviews that it's very woke. And I was like, no, it's not. Those are people complaining because the showrunner has, just for lack of better description, she may have some classified woke opinions. Everyone decided the show was woke. Nothing you've heard about is in this show. It was all.
I don't want to be that guy, but someone says something is bad because it is woke. You're using woke as a way to basically say that you don't like things that are. Matt, you say it better. You're about to say the same thing.
Well,
I can't say it well.
Like, if someone complains about being something being woke, what that says to me is that, okay, you don't like diverse casts. You don't like gay people. You don't like the LGBT community. You don't like non-standard storylines. Even like you don't like anything but white man with laser sword.
Basically, if someone says they don't like something because it's woke, my immediate red flag pops up like, oh, you're either a racist or something else that I don't trust.
You're likely a bigot. You're likely a bigot of some
yeah. Like, now, are there just to be the asshole in the room? There are things that are toxic wokeness out there. Of course, there's toxic everything. Nobody's saying that when they're saying that if you don't like this, is like this. But like, it's so ridiculous because I don't pay attention. Like, I don't pay attention to who's the front runner, who produced, who did it. I don't care. Like, this is a show that I'm gonna watch to see how it is. Like any show, if you're just gonna look at the poster for it and then judge it, that's ridiculous, right? Because if you watch this and then go back and watch 4, 5, and 6, outside of the case, of course, technology is so much better now, right? To do some really cool stuff. Like they can actually like bang the lightsabers together, right? Like aside from that and stuff, I don't see anything below what came out of the golden age of Star Wars. In fact, if anything, I see improvements all about. So what's the problem here? Like watch the episode and see what's going on. Yeah, it's a show as opposed to a movie. That means X, Y, and Z in terms of structure, flow. I can understand somebody saying, you know what, I didn't watch the Acolyte until it all came out so I could do a binge. Cool, you do you. Totally get it. But like,
sure.
If you're like, I didn't watch the Acolyte because I heard that Disney is a Nazi, and it's like, oh, here we go. It's just like, Jesus, oh my God, relax.
With just to jump back to the woke thing, I guess my when someone complains to me about something being woke, I always kind of want to ask them, what does that mean? What makes it woke, quote unquote? And it's like, it's sort of to jump to James's, like, you know, how is it different from what we've had before? Like, how is, outside of like the narrative and the writing, whether or not you think it's good or bad, what makes the Acolyte different from A New Hope?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, the black female protagonist is the first thing that jumps to mind, and I find that there are a lot of people who get upset about that, and it's like, why are you upset about that? Like, and it's just, you have to keep questioning, like, well, why is that bad?
Yeah,
because it shouldn't be bad based on the fact of what it is. Like, at its core, a black female protagonist shouldn't be a problem. So why are you upset about it?
You can not like the show. It's okay not to like the show.
Yeah,
but when you don't
sure.
like something, you should be able to try to say why. And if your answer is a word that doesn't really have any meaning, you should start to ask a question. Like, if you didn't
word
like
that
it
has
because
also largely been co-opted by the alt-right.
yeah, like I didn't like episode 2. Part of it, one thing really bothered me is I really didn't like the Jedi in the second episode, like the side Jedi. And then I'm like thinking about, like, why don't I like them? Like, oh, because basically they're just a bunch of like the side, like, extra ones. I'm like, well, they kind of look grubby and they kind of look, they're acting kind of stupid and not very Jedi like. They're like, they feel like countryside cops. Oh, is that the point?
Kind of what, there's a lot of what Jedi are in that era.
Yeah. And then I'm like, I understand what they're going for. I think now we're cool.
Like, I will admit,
Walker Texas Ranger vibes.
I will admit, when the show was coming out, I kind of fell for all the negative reviews about, this is going to happen here, this is there. It's like, and I was expecting some stuff that I wasn't going to be very happy with. And I went into the show going, okay, I'm going to still watch it. I'm going to try and keep this an open mind when I see it, because I want to believe that a lot of what I'm hearing is knee-jerk reaction, because who knows, the trailer doesn't give me any of the impressions of these things people are saying. All the impressions come from, oh, the director said this, the director said X, Y, and Z. And I was like, well, that sounds more like the director's personal opinion and not the show. And I was glad that I went with my instinct of, okay, let me go and watch the show and judge it on just on the show itself, because the show is so much different than what all of the haters and naysayers were saying prior to the show coming out. And I
would hope that the bulk of people do that like you did. Like, that's the reasonable approach to things, and is kind of the danger of a lot of the, like, anti-woke rhetoric of people just won't even try or won't give something a chance, and then they don't learn anything. So good on you for keeping an open mind, but sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. But the one thing I want to know is all these people that I see constantly going, this show is garbage, this show is garbage. So why are you still watching? Like, are you thinking magically this is going to be the episode that makes you go, this whole show is great? Like,
so they can make a YouTube video and generate hate clicks.
I saw something that somebody was saying, and it was through actually episode 5, and they were like, and I get kind of it, but I don't get it at all, because that episode was amazing. They were basically saying it was silly. And they're like, well, this is what Star Wars is now. It's silly. I'm like, well, when was Star Wars not silly? We have a giant Wookiee, a slug in the desert. Like, when was this?
And have you not seen
the driest slug of all time?
And have you not seen a lot of the old interviews? Like, Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill used to go, man, we looked at this script and went, this is the dumbest, goofiest thing I've ever seen. Who's taken this? It's like, it was not taken seriously from the beginning.
It's that classic Harrison Ford line when Mark Hamill's worried about his hair. Hey, kid, it's not that kind of movie. If they're worried about your hair, we're all in a lot of trouble. That's like, to me, that is the perfect description of what Star Wars is. It ain't that kind of movie. The science is never going to make sense.
And this is in the middle of what was a fantastically choreographed fight. And like, oh yeah, the fight's cool. It's just, Star Wars is getting silly. I'm like, you have clearly not been paying attention to Star Wars if you're saying it's getting silly. Good on you, because that means you probably don't remember.
Silly. And
good on you, because you don't remember Jar Jar, I guess. But but getting silly, and if you're not gonna like the show, that's fine. What I do think, people, for whatever reason, that's fine. And I'm not saying this is happening with this show. I'm sure it is somewhere, because statistically, everything we're talking about has an example somewhere of it happening for the show, given the amount of viewership. But like, what's equally bad for bigotry liking of disliking the show, which is dumb. Watch the show, like actually watch it. Is the flip side mirror of going, you have to like it because it's a black female protagonist. Like, no, I don't have to like that. It's like I don't like it because I don't like it. But I'm not saying that's what's happening here or even on the internet.
As the kind of person who does get heated with people over like, oh well, you just don't like a black female protagonist. Like, I get heated about that shit. But yeah, I acknowledge you don't have to like a show about a black female protagonist. But depending on the way you talk about that black female protagonist and why,
it's a whole different story.
I may or may not call you a bigot.
Yeah, it's a whole different.
But again,
it's just like,
here's the thing: even if I call you a bigot, you're not required to like it. You can be a bigot and hate things. That's allowed.
Yeah,
we live in the United States of America.
Like that's the whole thing. We may like it. We may say, "Yo, you guys are crazy for hating it." We're not saying you have to change your mind. You can hate the show all you want.
And if you don't like Osha for other reasons, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to like her just because she's a black female protagonist.
Like,
there are plenty of reasons not to like her.
Yeah. There's
if your reason is
right, that's the thing. And it's the reason I bring it up is because, like, in a game I play, an expansion that came out a year ago, they introduced officially for the game the first trans character. Is they them. Destiny 2.
Oh, neat.
It's an NPC. It's an NPC with the code name Nimbus, and they are trans. Whatever. One of the most annoying NPCs in the game, but not because of the trans reasons. It's because they're just annoying. And like when I brought that up one time, people were like, "What do you got against them? What, or her, it, they, them?" Because it's a machine, also part machine. And it's just like nothing. They just made Nimbus. They are really annoying. Just like the other NPC before them was really annoying for other reasons. This one is just they put it this way. Nimbus is credited as being called a himbo. So like that level of a nuisance. But like I didn't even know there was a term, firstly. Secondly,
I'm not surprised. You're not as online as I am.
Secondly, like people were getting defensive about this character. I'm like, no, I think it's great. Let's have diversity. We have a gay couple for years in this game. That's fantastic. But it just so happens they made this character really annoying.
Right, and that's fine. If you don't like a character because they're annoying, that's fine.
And that was which I thought was hysterical. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it was hysterical.
But that's also, like I said, though, the flip side, it's like, oh, I don't like this character because it's annoying. Are you sure that's the real reason?
Oh yeah, there's some people who are shitty like that, and fucking stuff,
Yeah, and that was what's fantastic about it. So now, like here, because I'm not saying the same things. I'm sure it is. You go to anywhere on the internet, there's something for everybody. But like, don't hate on something for one reason, or don't hate on people disliking something for the wrong reason. Like if you don't like it, cool. Mouths. Yeah, exactly. Don't deface what they are and then insist they said something when they didn't.
Yeah,
but
you
at
can
the
just
same
ask
time,
someone to clarify why they think something, but try not to in an aggressive way. And if they don't have the words for it, you give them time to think about it. It's like,
and at the same time, you also got to realize this is Star Wars.
Yep, and just there's some things out there that people just don't like, and sometimes you just can't explain it. There could just be something you just aren't a fan of.
As a old coworker used to say, I don't like that person. Why? I don't know. I don't like their face. I don't know reason not to like them. I just don't like them. It's just like it's just okay.
Bad
fine,
vibes.
fair enough.
Bad vibes. That's all.
Absolutely fair. Fair enough. Like and with Acolyte, I feel like at the core, it is somewhat of an experiment, right? We have the Nothomir. We had a Nothomir in there. We have
they tried a lot of new things. Yeah,
we tried a lot of new things at the same exact time, and that is can always be a bit leery for people, which is why I think some people like to binge watch and wait for it to be out so they don't have to wait and they can just go right in and watch fresh. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's totally valid.
Yeah, but like, okay, they're trying stuff. No big deal. You don't like it, you don't like it. But like, to then say you don't like it and would really throw me off with people saying it's silly. It's like, TIE Fighter sound effect is from elephants. Like, what do you want from me? It's like,
is it really?
like
But
it's
it
from
was
like
a bear.
it's like some like the
didn't know
Sahara
that.
animal things. Like they
It's
modulated
a couple
bunch of
different
Fascinating.
animals put together. Yeah.
Interesting.
Can
like,
I just interject to say I love Foley fun facts, like learning where
Yeah.
the sound effects we love come from.
I love where the
is one of
blaster
my
sound came
favorite
from.
things. Where'd it come from?
So you know, like those really like the really long like support cables on like towers and stuff. You hit one
Yes.
with a wrench, it goes pew pew pew.
Yes,
Mhm.
That's
That's how they got
incredible.
it.
I do remember like in some movies where like they jump down like a gangplank and all the cables shake. I do recall going, oh, that kind of sounds like a blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when, as a kid, I found out how they did Godzilla's roar, and I was hooked. I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
It was like a rubber glove over like some kind
guitar
of
string.
string instrument. Yeah.
That's what made Republic Commando such a great game, because when you got through it, you unlocked behind the scenes and you saw they did the sound effects for like the different guns and stuff, and you actually show them doing it in the sound studio and how they and from walking on different surfaces. I'm like, this is really cool.
Yep.
We need more special features like that. I would honestly, I'd love to see that for the Acolyte. I'd love to see how they did some of the sound effects.
Because
in the
there's been a
Acolyte.
couple of like little interview things like you see like Premier and Soul training to do the final fight and everything. Like some of that stuff is really cool.
I think the biggest, well, maybe not the biggest loss, but one of the biggest losses with Soul dying is that actor. Like,
Yeah.
the actor. Can we just again reiterate that actor did an incredible job, considering the fact that he didn't speak a word of English before taking the job.
Yeah,
and he had to learn,
that makes
like,
it impressive.
his
But even if he
lines,
didn't,
like-
but even without knowing that, he did a fantastic job. If you think he
yes,
could,
he did an
speak
incredible job
Yeah.
generally, but
Yeah.
also,
Oh, yeah, the
like
extra
that
feat.
extra level. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I wish that actor all the best
He-
in everything he's in.
He acted on
I can't
hard
wait
mode.
to see
Is what he
something.
did. He didn't
Yeah, he
act on
did.
easy mode.
He did.
He did
Like,
an amazing job. I don't think anyone did a bad job. There were some weak acting scenes, but
Yeah.
Soul really brought it. The Stranger Chimera, that's
Who
Manny.
played Vernestra?
Oh,
Say
I
again?
forget.
What'd you say, James?
Vanessa
I don't know. I don't know the actress, but she did a really
It
great
wasn't-
job.
It wasn't
being
the same actress that played
Vernestra.
Nebula, was it?
No.
It just
No.
some of her voice
No.
lines
No,
and
no,
like
no,
her
no, no,
mannerisms just was like an impersonation of it. It reminded me of Nebula, just
I'm
not
gonna,
her.
I'm gonna pull it up.